Alright, just to show you what I did here real quick, I took my little jumper wires, I cut them and I tinned them. So if you don't know what tinning is, do a quick YouTube on that. Then I actually, before connecting the wires, I took my soldering iron and I took some solder and I just put a couple drips on those contacts before even doing the wires. I just put up a little bubble of solder on the contacts. Then I came back with my wires, my tinned wires, so the wires already had a little bit of solder on them, plus my board had a little solder. It was pretty easy just to use my iron, heat up that solder real quick, drop the wire in there, and make a decent connection. As I mentioned in my other videos, I am not a professional. I am just a hobbyist, so please don't rate me on my jobs. Doing the best I can with what I know. So I have now 12 volt positive and negative. And what we'll do is, if you watch my other video, I'll show you how to make this harness. So here's our DMX connector. You can see our power board and our other DMX, or this is our wireless DMX adapter harness. There's our power board and there's our DMX connector. So I'll hook some of this up and show you where you do all that. Alright, so if you watched my other video, you saw us make our wiring harness. So now that we have our main power, we take these two guys, 12 volt ground and 12 volt power, and we put it right into our pins on our power board of the wiring harness that we made earlier. So let me do that. So here we go, pretty simple. From our main power source, sorry I'm getting some glare here, plug that into our power board, and just because I am who I am, I will take a little bit of hot glue and put just a drip, tiny little drip of hot glue there, just to make sure that these guys don't separate. Sometimes I do it right there too, to keep those wires from bending and breaking. Then, as I mentioned, we have those posts right there. So I went to the hardware store, my local Ace here, and I bought some of these screws, and then I actually used my Dremel and I ground them down so they didn't have a point. So we'll be using just two of these, and then I'll put that in a minute. And then I gotta find my little parts bag here. Where's my parts bag? There it is, hidden behind that LED board. I also went out and bought these little rubber risers, because our DMX wireless board has a switch and LED. We're going to conveniently place these guys, this guy right like this diagonal, but I need to lift it up a little bit because the LED's hitting the casing. So I bought some of these little risers we'll put on the bottom, and then I also bought just some of these little cardboard washers to put between the screw head and the board on the top side, just to make sure that the screw head doesn't touch any of those guys right there. So in addition to that, we know that our DMX wireless board here has an LED to tell us what channel it's on depending on what color it shines, and this little button to change channels. So once we got this guy mounted, I'll do a quick little test mount, and I'll show you that. And then we'll use a pencil, and we'll have to drill a small little pinhole right through here, just a smallest little pinhole, so that we can use a pin or a paper clip or something to reach up in there and push that button. And you can also see the light. It's convenient enough that once everything's reassembled, you can see the reflection of the light on the top side. If you're looking at the light from the top side, there's enough space between the board and the housing that you can see the reflection of what color that light is. I've also been mounting these little LED, or these little power boards. I got some just little two-sided sticky tape pad things, you know, two-sided stickies, and I've been mounting those boards right down inside of here. And that works out too because those boards have a red LED on them, and so you can actually see the red LED same way off the reflection. That one's actually much brighter. So it's kind of neat. I'm going to screw this board together real quick and show you how we're going to drill our hole. Give me a second. Alright, you can see I got my PCB board, DMX wireless board mounted there. Wonder if there's a way to turn off the flash. Alright, so I got my board mounted there. See, I just went diagonal because it didn't quite fit all 4 holes, but I went diagonal. I got my LED light and my switch down there. So what I'm going to simply do is just take my pencil. There's my switch. I'm going to draw a half circle around my switch so I know where it is. Then I'll come back and I'll drill a hole where my marking is. So let me do that and I'll show you. Alright, so I took the board off, and you can't really make it out on the camera, but there are some pencil marks there that I'll use to drill a hole, a little pinhole. Just the smallest drill bit you got, about the size, you know, of a paper clip when you unfold it, you know, so you can stick it up in there and change the channels. So I'm going to do that. So, like I said, smallest little pinhole right there so we can get to the switch. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little double-sided little sticky pads here. Turns out they're just the right size for these guys. So I'm going to put a little stick of hot glue there. Probably a little stick of hot glue there just to keep things from bending and breaking. Then I'll put one of those pads in the back. And if we're looking at our light, I'm going to stick it right down in here. So there's enough room down there. It kind of worries me about this wire being there. If that sticky pad ever comes off, it may touch. You might want to try to put it over here, I guess. Maybe I'll try to put it over here this time. There's no power on this side. Probably be a safer option. You just got to see how much room you got. So I'm going to take care of business. Okay, I wanted to show you this real quick while I was working on it. This was our DMX wire, if you remember. We pulled it off. It's kind of hard to see, but it's right that white connector down there. You can tell that's DMX because if you follow these wires, this is our DMX. This is the female from the outside, and this is the male. And if you just follow those wires, you can see that these red and white and black ones come off into this, where is it? This black harness here. So that's when you watch my other video and we make our wiring harness. We're just going to plug that guy into our little jumper. Remember, we made this guy. You can see this is also our DMX signal. You have to watch the other video where we shrink wrapped it. And then this end of that same PC wire will just go back right where the old wire was. That way we're not cutting or splicing any of the original equipment. We just bought these little PC jumper wires. They were, I don't know, $7 for like 10 of them. That way I don't like cutting into this stuff. This is all original equipment. I don't want to screw with that. So technically, when all is said and done, the only modifications that are ever made to the light itself are those 2 solder joints and that little pinhole. Everything else could easily be undone, and you wouldn't even notice the difference. So I'm going to continue putting this together. Alright, so we got everything hooked up. So there's power, which runs down to our power board. I ended up sticking it down here, which I actually like a lot better. My original prototype, I had it down here, but this green wire always bothered me. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it's ground or something for power over here. So I always worried that if the sticky tape come off, the first thing it was going to hit was that thing and arc out and fry something. So I'm much happier with the placement over here. It could still probably ground out, but I think the likelihood is a lot less. And then, you know, I just reconnected our DMX cable down there. It's hard to see. We got a lot of wires in here now. Oh, that's it right there. Green and red and blue and black. You know, so that came up to our jumper. And that's where we plugged into our jumper wire right there. That's our original DMX signal cable. And then our DMX wireless board's all mounted. You probably can't see it in here, but our little pinhole's right above the push button for the selector. That's all connected. I'll zip tie some of this stuff up and stuff it in there, and then we'll reconnect our LED board and everything and test it. Okay, so we got all our light reassembled, all our wires tucked away. Give this thing some power. See it flash on. If you look down there, right there, that's our LED for our power converter, our 12 volt to 5 volt. That feeds our DMX wireless board. So we know that that guy's got power. We saw the flash and the lights, that's got power. We look under here, our control panel's got power. And if we look closely, I don't know if you'll see this on the camera, right next to the P and the power in there is our hole, and you can see the red LED that tells us that our DMX board is on wireless channel 1. You can take a pin or a safety pin or, you know, a paper clip, whatever, stick it in there. Cool thing about that is kind of hard to see the red, the other colors. Let me pause this real quick and I'll switch to a brighter color. Alright, so I changed channels on the DMX controller, changed it to green, so you can kind of see the green light in there a little better. So I mean, you can still see all your controls, which is kind of cool. Some people might not like that red light. It doesn't bother me. I don't think it'll be a problem. So there you have it. That's how to... Oh, I didn't show you the antennas. Okay, so those little boards, that the DMX wireless boards that we hooked up in here come, you're supposed to... There's a little pin, you push the wire, got to drill a hole, you mount this from the inside somewhere, and then you mount one of these antennas. However, I went on eBay and I bought some internal antennas that are basically, you know, PCB boards with the same type of attachment as that. However, they haven't come in yet. They're coming in from China. Once I get those, I'll use the same sticky tape and I'll probably mount them on this flat surface on the inside right there, or perhaps on the other side. I gotta find a flat surface for it, but that way I'll have an internal antenna and I won't need to drill any more holes in this thing. So that's the plan. I haven't tested those antennas yet. I'll make a video when I get them and I'll show you. For now, that's what we got. See ya.